Hey everyone! If you're like me, those perimenopause symptoms are driving you crazy. Well, I've got a little help for you. All you need to do is go to my midlifewithcourage.com website, and a little box is going to pop up that's going to ask you if you'd like to get my free ebook called Balancing Your Hormones. It's a short little guide with tips that you can use throughout the day, super easy, to help you balance out those hormones through the things that you do. So check it out, midlifewithcourage.com. Now let's get back to the show. You are listening to Midlife with Courage. This is where women in midlife come to learn how to build their confidence, live with courage, and stop living for someday. If you don't want to miss an episode, make sure you subscribe or follow. Let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Midlife with Courage. I am Kim Benoit, your host. Today, I have a beautiful guest with me. Her name is Bernadette Catalana. Welcome to the podcast, Bernadette.
Thank you, Kim. Happy Friday to you.
Yes, we are both mothers of daughters and mothers of two daughters, and we're going to talk about that today. But first, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us where in the world you are and what you do.
Sure. I am in New York City right now, and this is where I live. I do travel a lot for work. I'm an attorney, and my office is in Midtown, and I live near Central Park. And my two daughters are both within walking distance of me. So I am
Ah,
super, super fortunate in that way.
that is so cool. I love that. So let's talk about first, before we get into your story and your daughters, tell us about a time in your life when you felt courageous or you showed courage.
Oh, wow. Are we talking ancient history or recent?
Anything you want.
Okay. Here's a story from my childhood that I felt like it might have been the first time that I had to be brave. I was a very fearful child. In fact, I feel like much of my earlier life was defined by fear. I was afraid of dogs. I was afraid of men. I was afraid of anyone in authority. I was afraid to speak out. And when I was in fourth grade, so I had started out at St. Ambrose Catholic school. And when I hit third grade, they talked about a consolidation, which actually happened and hit the next year. And I was always really, really good at reading. I was a reader. I love reading. I always had a book in my hand. And they did testing for us when we went to the new school. And I remember, you know, how when you're little, they name the groups and they're very thinly veiled. Like there were the eagles, the bluebirds, sparrows. Blah, blah. So I ended up in probably like the sparrow group. I was not in the top reading group. In fact, I was in the lowest reading group,
Hmm.
which I knew was not right in my little, 10-year-old heart. I knew that this wasn't right, but I did not have the courage to say anything. And my parents were going through a divorce at the time. So I didn't have any parent to advocate for me. And then at one point, I remember walking up to our teacher, Mrs. Mancini, and saying, I think I'm in the wrong group. I know I'm a good reader and I should really be in the Eagles. And I think she saw that it took every ounce of courage in me to tell her this, that she
Oh,
immediately believed me and said, we're going to have you tested again. So
ah,
she had me tested again. And in fact, I tested out higher than any of the groups that were in my grade. I finished through the eighth grade readers by the end of fourth grade. And in fifth grade, I was going into the first grade and helping the first graders learn how to read. So
oh,
I know that's like a little trite story, but for me, it really like I can still all these years later remember how hard it was for me to come up with that courage to
yeah,
tell somebody in authority that there was some kind of mistake. And
yeah,
it really, courage has been something that I struggled with quite a bit
yeah.
in, I would say, the first 40 years of my life.
Yeah, for sure. And I always tell women at this point in your life, if you're not feeling confident or courageous, look back at all the things that you've done already that you just kind of forget about, or maybe you just don't think that they're that big of a deal, but that was a big deal for you. And it's.
Was. It was.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
courage is a muscle like anything else. If you don't exercise it and flex it, you're not going to
Yes.
have it. So the more you confront your fears, and then I did get to a point where I thought anything I'm afraid of, I'm going to run at it. I am
Love
going to
it.
run at it. I was not great at public speaking. And I decided I was getting to a point where I thought, okay, I'm going to sign up to read at church. I'm going to read at church.
Uh,
So I'm going to be in front of all these people. And I'm just, there's not going to be any room to be afraid. So
yeah.
that's been one way I tackled that lack of courage that I felt like I was born with.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. So you have two daughters. Tell us about them.
Okay, Carly's my oldest, and she is 14 months older than Courtney, who's my youngest.
Oh, wow.
And they are just delightful. Carly is a young mom, and she has two daughters that are about 16 months apart. So I feel like I'm watching her live my life over again. They're 3 and 2, and she is a digital marketing manager, which is for a real estate company, which I think is a job suited for a lot of young people, right? Because they
Mhm.
grew up and that's what they know.
Sure.
My daughter Courtney is expecting her first baby in December, which is super cool. We're excited. She is having a girl. So we're very proud of girls. I'm also one of 7 children, 6 girls and one
Oh,
boy.
oh my God.
In fact, I just learned this on Sunday at a family reunion. Courtney and 3 of my nieces are all pregnant at the same time. They're all due within a month and they're all having girls.
Oh my gosh. Girls
So
run in your family.
yeah, they sure do. So Courtney, the younger of the two, is a former professional dancer. She is married to I should say retired professional dancer.
Hmm.
And we are pretty certain this baby is probably going to want to dance.
It's
They're
moving
both,
around in there.
yeah, both ballet dancers. So,
Oh,
and they both had great careers and they're still both teaching and coaching.
hmm.
But Courtney is the human resource director. So during COVID, which was really a very tough blow to a lot of people in the arts community, both she
Yeah.
and her now husband were in shows abruptly ended and
Oh,
their livelihoods. So Courtney went back to school, finished up her undergrad and got her master's,
wow.
got her MBA. And she is working for a startup company and she is the recruiter, human resource director, and she's doing really great in that job. It's a tough transition going from professional artist to being in the 8 to 5 world, but I give
Yeah.
her a lot of credit. She's doing well with it.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. I can hear the pride in your voice when you talk about them. That's wonderful. My girls are adults now, of course, and they're twins. They're still twins.
Oh, wow. Are they
Yeah.
identical or fraternal?
They're supposed to be identical, but there's things about them that makes me think they're not,
Okay.
but yeah, so I know we had our trials and tribulations. They're great people, they're wonderful, they're like my best friends. Is there anything that sticks out to you that maybe are challenges for raising girls?
Yeah, the girls were extremely different. Carly was and is and has been always extremely spirited and has her own mind.
Ah,
So she was not, let's just say she was not one always willing to take direction. Courtney, completely different child. I will say, and I really stretched to try to think of an occasion. I don't know that I ever had to raise my voice to Courtney ever
oh
once
wow.
in her life. But she also saw the challenges with Carly, and she would say, I feel so bad for you. I feel so bad for you and dad. So, you know what? I think that's valid. I will
Yeah.
say as adults, I'm worried about Carly much less than I've worried about Courtney
Uh,
because Carly has that courage.
Mm-hmm.
She is afraid of nothing. And Courtney, even though she can dance in front of, 1,000 people, she's a little more timid, probably a little bit more like I started out.
Sure, sure. So I want to talk about parenting adult children because I'm sure there were times for you where maybe they made choices or did things that maybe you didn't agree with, or I didn't think you were going to do that. Did you have anything like that? First of all, I should probably ask that.
Of course, we all do. But I think the important thing about raising adults and parenting adult children, because, first of all, your life changes, your role changes, and you have to accept that. We don't want to. And it is hard not being the center of the hive, so to speak,
Yeah.
anymore. I mean, they're living in different places than you most of the time, right? So you're
Hmm.
not even seeing day to day. And then when we hear things, we hear about it. Oh, we hear about like something big happening.
Hmm.
But I will say, I think what's helped me with that is I mentor a lot of young lawyers. So part of my job, I was managing partner of the New York office in my last firm. I'm also the founding partner in the New York office here and also manage it now and work with young lawyers. And I also have young lawyers on the teams that I lead. So I have had a lot of practice working with young adults, and you have to respect them. Absolutely have to respect them. And I also think you have to trust the process. You did the job. You did the
Hmm.
best job that you could do. You gave them the skills. And, Carly and I talk to my girls all the time. We are so lucky. We talk every day virtually, and I see them a lot as well. And Carly and I were talking about, the fact that sometimes you have to, even though someone is heading towards maybe a bad decision or a decision you wouldn't make as the parent, to some degree, you have to have enough faith to say, that's their mistake. That's their mistake to make. And I think about the mistakes, finger quote, mistakes that I've made in my life. And those have been my best teachers. So why would we deprive our children of what could truly be their best teacher? Now,
Yeah.
I know there are extreme situations where there might be a health issue or a threat of physical or emotional harm.
Hmm.
And I don't mince words with my girls. I'm very direct,
Hmm.
but I try to, even when I'm trying to maybe guide them in a certain direction, or they've come to me and I can see that they really don't know how they are going to come down on an issue.
Hmm.
I try to end with, I trust you. I know you've thought about this long and hard, and I know you'll make the right decision for you. And then just kind of have my peace with it, because what
Yeah.
can you do?
That's so hard.
But think about, like, did you teach your girls how to drive?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Wasn't that hard?
Oh, yeah.
Letting them letting them go off in the car when they got their license, because you knew they really didn't know how to drive. They knew enough to pass the test.
Right,
Right.
right. Yeah.
So at that point, I made it a practice for myself. I'm going to say one prayer a day in the morning for everyone's physical safety. And then
Hmm.
I literally need to give it over, because it's not productive. It's not doing anyone any good if I was sitting around a nervous wreck thinking, oh my gosh, what are they doing in the car? Right?
Right,
So
right. Yeah.
offer one up to heaven for everyone to be safe every day. And then
Yeah.
I think you have to let it go.
Yeah, for sure. You just have to. It's as I've gotten more mature, I know there's things I can control, there's things I can't. Let it go. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
I,
but
I,
it's tough.
so. I think so. Where are your girls?
My girls live within an hour of me. So every morning we have a text, a family text. Good morning, love you, So
Oh, that's so sweet.
we schedule one time a month to have dinner together, like all of us. Like one daughter's married, one daughter has a partner. So, we the six of us get together to do something each month. So we know we have that. So it is nice to have them nearby, but there's been, situations where let go and let God because literally I can't fix it. I think that's the biggest thing is like trying to fix for them. That's not my job anymore.
No, I mean, again, your job is really important. And I think sometimes our job as parenting adults may even be more important because what our children are facing, the consequences are so much bigger. My mother-in-law used to say, little children, little problems, big children, big problems. I mean,
So
nothing,
true.
right, has been
Yeah.
said. So we might not be working in the office every day. We're working remote. So working
Uh,
remote has its challenges, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
how do we make that connection when we're not there every single day? And even though we're all in the same city and, in walking distance, I may not necessarily be eyeballing everybody every day,
Hmm.
which, is an important part of knowing how people are doing.
Right.
I'm grateful. And I think, it sounds like you're in a similar situation. Just be so grateful that those lines of communication are open.
Hmm.
And, I just think back one generation to my mom. I didn't necessarily feel close to my mom, probably because I was one of seven children. I was one of the youngest of the seven children. I was number six.
Hmm.
And my mom was a single mother for
Oh,
much of my growing up.
wow.
So I really, really didn't feel all that connected. I didn't really feel like I knew her that well or that she knew me.
Hmm.
And, actually, Carly and I were talking last night, and she said, Mom, you healed that in one generation. You healed that disconnect. And I thought, wow, what a compliment to hear from my adult
Wow.
daughter. And true, true.
Yeah, that is amazing. Did you consciously do that, or did you just that just happened because of how you found your courage, maybe?
Yeah, in all candor, becoming a mother, and I was a young mother, certainly by today's standards, I was a young mother. And it was really the first thing I had ever done in my life that made me feel important. I felt
Uh,
connected. I was good at it. I just embraced being a mother so much and committed myself because I probably had never felt good about myself
mm,
ever in my life until I had Carly. And very shortly after, I was plotting how I want to have another one because I am enjoying this and I'm so happy. And then sure enough, Courtney came around 14 months later. And I think that just made me extremely committed
mhm,
to the process. I am going to do everything I can. I'm going to commit every single day of my life to loving these girls, raising these girls, and doing
mm.
what I can. And that's why I went back to law school. I wanted Carly to be proud of me. So in
Wow.
between, I mean, I had a job, it was okay, but I knew I was smart and I knew I should have been in the Eagles, right? The
Yep,
Eagles,
you knew you were an eagle.
not the Bluebirds or the Sparrows. And I took the LSAT when I was 6 months pregnant with Courtney.
Oh my gosh.
And
That is amazing.
yeah, it was just kind of meant to be.
Yep.
And really, much of the success that I've had in my adult life, I attribute directly to my children inspiring me to go
Mm,
there.
mm. I love that. I didn't realize you had gone to law school and then I thought you just were a lawyer first. So that is on top of having children. I know that that's not an easy thing to do anyway, but then having the children, but having that goal of showing your daughters what they can do too, really.
Yes, was sworn into the New York bar on Courtney's fifth birthday.
Love it.
So it was just such an amazing moment
Good for
right
you.
there. And they, and they've seen me work work really hard. This is
Hmm.
not an easy life that we chose, but
Hmm.
I at peace with it, and I enjoy it. And I especially enjoy kind of my role as professional mother to a lot of younger lawyers, and that's been really good for me as well.
That's great. I love that. So, how has becoming a grandmother changed your relationship with your daughters?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's a shame in our world because grandmother is almost a pejorative word. And I think back about it, I loved my grandmother. She was my
Yeah.
favorite person in the entire world until my children were born.
Mhm.
So I will say there was some probably irrational, I don't know how I feel about this, probably the word grandmother more than anything, but so happy for Carly. And so to see her so happy and see her really having a very similar experience that I had with my
Mhm.
girls,
Mhm.
she's so happy. Never seen her so happy. So I love it. And obviously, I love the girls. They're wonderful, Blake and Gemma, and they are 3 and 2, and we have so much fun. And usually, I'll watch them. They'll come stay with me at my apartment when they have something, when Carly and Phil have something to do,
Yeah.
wedding or whatever. In fact, I watched Blake for a week when they went to Europe when she was maybe 7 months old. And when Carly came back, she was pregnant with Gemma. So very productive trip.
Yes, you're welcome.
Yeah, exactly. And I was able to be there. In fact, when Blake was tiny until they moved to their current apartment. So maybe probably Blake's first year, I lived down the street from them. I literally lived
Oh,
1 block away.
nice.
So I would walk there every morning when I was going to the office, drop off my dog. The nanny would watch Blake and my dog. And then when I came back at night, I would pick up Jax and see Blake. So
Oh,
that was really nice for everybody because I was able to be, Johnny on the spot when they needed somebody right
right.
there. So it was,
Yeah. Amazing. That is so cool. I love that. So your book is called Daughter Lessons.
yeah, yeah. I have it right here, daughter.
Yeah,
I have
tell
it.
us
I have some things marked in it.
and it,
Um,
yeah, tell us about how that all started.
Yeah, I started, well, I'm an essay writer. I would say that's the format of writing that I like the best. And I had written a lot of essays over the course of time. I have a website, daughterlessons.com. And I just, how did I start writing these essays? Well, I was getting to a point where I knew that the girls would not be living with me anymore.
Hmm.
And then, the more ominous thought is that, well, although I'd like to, I'm probably not going to live forever. We have a limited number of days on the earth. And I thought, so they're not only going to not be with me, I'm not going to be with them.
Hmm.
And I want them to know me. I want them to maybe learn some of the lessons that I learned in my life, not only from raising them or lessons that I'm giving to them, but also lessons I learned being a daughter.
Sure.
And, just the forgiveness that is often required in any family relationship,
Mm.
no matter how close you are. So I got up one morning, it was October 1st, and every single day for a month, I wrote down a lesson for the girls. Not extremely, like you'll see, they're very short to the point. And I try to give them a sense of what it was like in my life, some of the things that happened in my life, and how they can really you can really reinvent yourself at any age and any stage and just choose to be happy. There's so much happiness to be had out there if we look for it
Hmm.
and if we do it. So that's where it started from, and it just kind of took on a life of its own. And it's been such a blessing for me. I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed people who I've never met before reading the book and reaching out to me saying, I loved your book and this is what I like about it. And people that I do know who are close to me. One of my best friends, Lynn, her mother is in her 90s and she said, I keep your book by my bed and I pick it up and I read just one little lesson and it makes me feel better. And that, I mean, not how can that do anything
Oh.
but make you feel really good about yourself?
Yeah, but that's why people write books. They want to share and they want to help other people, and
Yes.
that's what you're doing.
That is how I feel. I just want
Yeah.
other mothers to feel. I mean, I so identified with being a mom, and that's not unusual. That's
Hmm.
how I think most of us are, because it's the best thing, best job we ever had.
Right.
But the day comes when you're going to get fired, or at least you feel like you're getting fired from the best job you ever had. And that's scary for people.
Yeah.
But I want people to know it doesn't have to be that way. And there's so many good times ahead. I was on my phone with Carly. I had my headphones in. I was walking to Bloomingdale's last night, and we had such an amazing conversation. And she said, Mom, we're so lucky. And I thought, yeah, we are. Yes, we are. And we can keep it going for as long as we choose.
Ladies, you know I believe midlife is not the end of anything. It's the beginning of everything. That's why I created the Courage and Confidence Hour, a monthly space just for us to connect, share, and shine. Here's what you can expect during this 3-month program. Each month, we'll gather on Zoom for an uplifting, heart centered hour that helps you quiet self doubt, find your voice, and build the kind of confidence that ripples into every area of your life. You'll leave each session feeling lighter, braver, and more energized to take on your next chapter. And the best part? You don't have to do it alone. You'll be surrounded by women who truly get it, who lift you up and remind you that you're not behind, you're right on time. We're kicking things off this October with a special beta launch at an introductory price, and I'd love for you to be a part of this founding circle. If you're ready to feel more connected, courageous, and confident in your everyday life, this is your invitation. Just click the link in the show notes to sign up and join us. Yeah. Oh my goodness. So many good lessons there. So many good messages too. I love that. So, what do you see ahead? Do you think you want to write more or what's going on?
Sure, I do write. I'm on LinkedIn and I do posts on the practice of law and the practice of life. So I do write. I write a lot of light things because I try to look for the lightness, but I
Mhm.
do write about serious things as well. In fact, I'm looking out a window here to my right, and that building that is right across the street was the scene of the most recent mass shooting in New York City just before the one that unfortunately happened in Minnesota, which broke my heart.
Mm.
And I wrote about that. I wrote about that on LinkedIn, and my posts certainly had quite a bit of reach there.
Mhm.
And the message there was, and I titled it, "Are You Okay?" Because
Mm.
as that happened, luckily we were all fine. We had all just left the office. We have a small office, we're growing. So we all tend to leave at the same time. We check in each other. I mean, New York is not the easiest place to be. So we're all
Mhm.
concerned about safety always.
Sure.
So I had just walked home to my apartment. I walk to work every day.
Mhm.
And I just walked into my apartment, and one of the associates, Danny, said, "Are you home? There's a shooting near our building." So that was
Oh my
all he
gosh.
knew. So we were all checking in with each other. Then, as my wider circle, this was hitting the news, I got a lot of texts. Are you okay? Are you
Mhm.
okay? And, the whole gist of my words were, as long as our babies have to learn how to hide under a desk to save themselves from someone trying to murder them at school, and as long as people are allowed to buy automatic weapons,
Mhm.
none of us are okay. None
Right.
of us are okay. This needs to stop. I wish I knew an answer. I so wish I knew an answer. But sometimes just writing the question, a lot of people connected with what I wrote because we don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And the unfortunate thing is, this is becoming so commonplace. We're going through this cycle of outrage, devastation, wanting to do something, and then numbness because nothing is, no one's listening.
Right.
There's nobody listening to people who are outraged by this. It's interesting. So
Yeah.
yeah, I do write on LinkedIn. I earlier in this year, the week before Mother's Day, I was a guest columnist for the Assisi Institute and
Oh,
wrote about motherhood every day. And then I parallel posted those on my website. So I
okay.
do like to write. And, when maybe at another time when I have more time to sit down and write, I have like two fiction works that I have multiple chapters done, but as lawyers, we don't have a lot of time to
Sure.
actually like bang out a book. I wish that
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
true.
Do you think you'll retire soon from being a lawyer? Or
I
I'm
don't,
just curious.
I don't know. I really enjoy it. And
Yeah.
I'm not there. I'm not
Yeah.
quite there,
That's good.
age wise or stage wise. So
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
I always, that's curious to me.
Yeah, because it's such a hard job or
Yeah. You're so busy with so many different, I want to say lawyering, but I don't think that's the right word.
no, lawyering is exactly right. I am in litigation. I lead one of the probably the biggest gist of my job is I lead litigation teams. So there are, certain litigations they call mass tort. So companies get sued, not just in one lawsuit, they get sued in multiple lawsuits. So I work with those companies and work with their lawyers to get ready for trials. And I also do a lot of resolution work. So I do negotiations. It's brisk. I mean, there's no doubt about it, but I enjoy it. And like I said, I'm enjoying the role of working with younger lawyers and
Yeah.
helping them have the confidence to keep going and keep their eye on one, the profession that they chose, but also having a personal life. That is extremely
Mm.
important. And it's easy for people in this profession, probably in the medical profession as well, to think that what you do is who you are. And that's just
Mm-hmm.
so not true. Not true.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a whole other topic that we could get into, but in the interest of time.
Yeah.
So where would you like people to go? I know you said you mentioned your website. Do you want to say that again so people can find you if they
Yeah.
want to?
Daughterlessons.com. I have a lot of posts about motherhood and they're, I'll say, pretty fun and pretty
Yeah.
uplifting. And my book is on Amazon.com. You can get it there. And I'm thinking maybe I will read a short blurb from my book.
Yes,
That would be
please.
perfect. And actually, I have one called Sweet Goodbyes. And each of my entries it begins with a quote. And this one is from Winnie the Pooh. How lucky I am to have something that makes saying goodbye so hard. Courtney left today and won't be home again until Christmas. We had fun during her off season from the Dayton Ballet, but it went way too fast, like all the time I spend with my girls. Perhaps the hardest part of being a parent is being separated from your children as they grow up and often away. Thank God for the modern conveniences of cell phone, texting, and Skype, which now we would say Zoom. They really do make it easier to stay in touch. But technology can't replace being with someone in person. There is something sacred in sharing space, breathing the same air, just being together. It was with great joy that I discovered Courtney left her favorite water bottle and had to return for it before hitting the road with her dad. At least when she left the second time, I remembered to grab a picture of her and Peanut sharing one final snuggle. No, goodbyes are never easy, but they are sweet when we know that we send our children out into the world armed with love and our faith in them.
I
So
love
that's
that.
an example of one of my essays that you can
Yeah.
find in daughter lessons.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, I think we're going to end it there. Bernadette, thank you so much for joining me today. Good luck in your future endeavors, and we'll put the links to your website in our show notes so people can go and grab that and read more of those
Great.
wonderful words.
Great. Thank you. Take good care, Kim.
Thank you for listening to Midlife with Courage. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave me a review, or even better, send a link to a friend.